gun, the cannon I used was not, Lewis and Clark did not have a cannon like that with them. They had a swivel gun, which is a small cannon on the large keel boat. But that gun I use when I'm doing living history for War of 1812 events. And that is actually a British 3-pound gun from the Revolutionary War era. It's a reproduction of a 3-pound Verbruggen cast brass or bronze barrel on a British butterfly carriage, it's called. That was a small, those 3-pounder carriages like that were designed to be used on a battlefield and maneuvered around on a battlefield by the infantrymen. And the infantrymen operated those guns. Those guns were used in North America during the Revolutionary War, and there was a few of them around yet up to the time of the War of 1812. It's a good size, it's manageable. The next normal size gun up from that is a 6-pounder, and that takes a lot more work to maneuver one of those around. So.
What kind of charge does it take to set it off?
Normally I fire about a 4-ounce charge of cannon grade black powder, cannon grade or 1F black powder. Today I shot 5.5-ounce load, and I ignite it with a primer, a quill type primer. But this morning it was a little foggy and damp, so the primer got damp. So the primer didn't want to ignite from a lens stock. The lens stock is the stick type device, and there's cord on there that's burning slowly, and that's called slow match. And that small slow match that I was using, that small diameter cord doesn't make a very large or very hot ember. So, and with that primer being a little bit damp, it didn't want to ignite right away. So I grabbed some other powder and poured it on top of the vent and just lit that with the lens stock. The same effect, it's just a point. The point is to get ignition there. The powder burns down through the vent hole into the barrel and ignites the charge that's in the barrel of the gun.
Now you have to clean the cannon after you fire it. That's a complicated process too.
Yeah, well, normally in that situation I only fired the 1 round, and I just leave it sit for a while in a situation like that, and I didn't have anybody else with me that was trained to operate the gun. Normally I use a minimum of 3 people to operate a small cannon like that. One man to seal the vent hole with the thumb, and his thumb was covered with a piece of leather called a thumb stall. And while he has that sealed after the shot takes place, of course, then we worm the barrel to remove the leftover debris of the cartridge, and then we run down a wet sponge to extinguish any burning embers that are in there. And a situation like that, fired 1 shot, I leave it sit for a good 5 to 10 minutes. So anything that's burning in there yet just extinguishes itself. And then I worm it out, remove the spent cartridge, and then wet sponge it. And yeah, and then in that case, just some clean water, and run a wet sponge with clean water down it several times to clean the powder residue out. So yeah, brass or bronze gun can corrode, but cleaning them out good, it lasts a long time.